The candle was still burning. It wasn't the scent that got me. It was the way it flickered like nothing had changed. Like it wasn't lit by the same hands that had just whispered to someone else, "Don't worry, he's clueless." That scent, white linen and cedarwood, used to calm me. Now it made me want to rip the air out of the room. Her suitcase thudded softly against the hardwood floor. Heels clicked in the hallway. I stood behind the door, holding nothing. No suitcase. No accusations. Just a silence, so sharp it could have slit the tension in half. She hummed as she walked in. The same melody she always used after cheating on a diet or getting away with something. My fingers twitched. Not with rage. With clarity. She didn't notice the missing photos from the hallway. She didn't notice the empty coat rack. She didn't notice the single envelope on the kitchen island with her name on it, pressed flat under my wedding ring. But when she opened the fridge and found it hollow, her voice cracked the air. "Daryl?" I didn't answer. She walked into the bedroom and stopped dead. The drawers were open. Nothing inside. My side of the closet was barren. The bed was still made, like no one had slept in it for days. She called again. "Daryl?" I watched her from the hallway mirror. Her expression melted from mild confusion into creeping dread. She reached for her phone. Too late. Disconnected. She didn't realize I'd already been gone for 48 hours. Did she expect flowers? A hug? Maybe another blind eye to turn? Because this time, I left without slamming a door. Without a note that said, "We need to talk." Without even changing the locks. I didn't need to scream or beg or cry. I just vanished. Like I never existed. And in that void, she finally panicked. She dialed her mother first. Then her friend Harper. Then she tried him. The man from her conference. The one I saw kiss her through the hotel window 3 nights ago while she told me over the phone she was tired from breakout sessions. I never interrupted. I never gave her a reason to lie better. That was the last lie she got from me. Now she was standing in the middle of our living room. Half her world intact, half of it erased. And for the first time, she had no script. I watched her fall into the armchair like it betrayed her. She didn't cry. Not right away. She just stared at the ring. That same ring she once said made her feel safe. And maybe that's the problem. Safe men like me never see it coming. We're the ones they cheat on quietly. But not this time. Not this man. Not again. The strange thing is, I didn't take everything. Not because I forgot, but because I wanted her to notice what I left behind. Some things weren't worth packing because they were never really mine. The cookbook she never once opened, even though she insisted we'd try new recipes together this fall. The mug I bought her in Asheville with the words, "Let's stay in love," faded at the rim. The necklace I gave her for our 3rd anniversary, still in its box, tucked in the back of her nightstand. She never wore it. Said it felt too heavy. Too heavy. Like I did. I slept in the car the night after I left. Parked outside a self-storage unit with all my clothes, documents, and whatever dignity I still had folded in boxes. It was cold, but at least it was mine. I wrapped myself in the hoodie she used to steal during movie nights, back when she still leaned on me like I was her home. Back when she didn't flinch when I reached for her hand. While she was sleeping in our bed with someone else's name on her lips, I was staring up at a cracked ceiling wondering if I had ever truly been part of the life she said we were building. What broke me wasn't the cheating. It was the rehearsed cruelty of it. The text I found in her archived messages wasn't even hidden, it was saved. Like she wanted to revisit it. She told him I was emotionally soft, and that I wouldn't even know what revenge looked like if it danced naked in front of him. That hurt more than any affair ever could. Because she was right. I wasn't a man of fury. I was the man who talked things out. The man who avoided conflict. The man who waited. The man who forgave. I'm not that man anymore. That morning, I logged into our joint online account. It was nearly empty. I checked the transaction history. Spa charges. Boutique restaurants. A hotel booking in Jackson Hole that I definitely wasn't invited to. Meanwhile, my own credit card had declined 3 days prior because I bought too much gas in 1 week. All while she spent $300 on a silk scarf and labeled it therapy. I sat there with my phone trembling in my palm. I thought about calling her, just to say I know, just to hear how quickly she'd lie. But I didn't. Instead, I changed the security codes, shut down the cards, canceled the Amazon Prime that only she used. I didn't do it out of spite. I did it because, finally, I understood. The man she wanted was never me. He was a prop, a cover story, a bank account with a beating heart. And I was done being her fiction. 2 hours later, I sent a single email to her office. It wasn't to her. It was to the HR department. I used the shared login from our home Wi-Fi, the one she thought I didn't know she saved her credentials on. The message simply read, "Just making you aware, your vice president of brand strategy has been using corporate retreats to fund personal rendezvous, including a 3-night stay with a male guest at the company's expense. Receipts attached. Best, a concerned observer." I wasn't sure if it would go anywhere, but I didn't care. I wasn't looking to destroy her, just to stop her story from being clean. When she called that afternoon, I didn't answer. When she left the 5th voicemail, "Daryl, this isn't funny. Where are you?" I didn't even blink. But when she sent the message that said, "You're scaring me. What is this?" I finally replied, "This is what silence sounds like. Don't worry, you'll get used to it." No threats. No anger. Just a mirror. She didn't respond after that. The part that gets me the most is how easy it was to leave. Not the logistics. Not the money. Not the packing. I mean emotionally. I always thought if I walked away, it would rip something out of me, that I'd collapse from the pain. But what I felt was weightlessness. Like I had finally set down a burden I didn't realize I'd been dragging. And the moment I hit send on that final message, I swear the air around me changed. Not freer. Not lighter. Just quieter. That's what she never understood. Some goodbyes don't need a single word. They just need the courage to never come back. She didn't lose everything at once. Tessa believed in control. She managed her life the way she managed meetings, tight-lipped, immaculately dressed, with backup plans layered under backup plans. That's why she didn't spiral the moment she saw the ring on the kitchen island. Not when the fridge was empty. Not even when the closet stood half-gutted and cold. It started with whispers. The email I sent to her company's HR didn't vanish into a void. It caused a slow ripple. Corporate doesn't like scandals. And Tessa, despite her confidence, underestimated just how visible she'd become over the past year. Promotions make you a target. Expense reports become delicate. Company retreats aren't private if your name's on the itinerary and the room charges. 3 days after I disappeared, she was called into a closed-door meeting. I wasn't there to see it, but I knew the look that would cross her face when someone showed her the screenshots, her texts, the billing records, the hotel log with both of their names. She wouldn't cry. She wouldn't shout. Tessa doesn't unravel in front of people. But inside, I imagined the first thread snapping loose. She texted me after that meeting. I still remember the exact wording. "You think you're clever, but this won't undo what you didn't give me." No apology. No denial. Just ego wrapped in venom. That's who she really was. A woman who saw herself as the flame and everyone else as moths who should be grateful to burn. So I stopped responding altogether. Instead, I moved again. Not just my stuff. I changed cities. I found a studio apartment in a sleepy town near the coast. No connections. No past. I left behind everything except the few things I wanted to start over with. A battered leather journal, my dad's old watch, and a laptop filled with memories I hadn't opened since our wedding. She, meanwhile, had to sit in boardrooms pretending her personal life wasn't combusting. Harper, her best friend, the one who always smirked around me like she knew something I didn't, texted me out of nowhere. "You made your point, but you didn't have to humiliate her." I didn't reply. Harper once told Tessa to live a little before she shriveled like a wife. She toasted their Jackson Hole trip on Instagram with the caption, "Weekend escape with the real ones." I had screenshotted it and saved it with the file name, fakepeople001.jpg. Tessa thought I was too passive to keep records, too soft to bite, too spineless to walk. But she never thought I'd disappear so cleanly, that I wouldn't beg, that I wouldn't cling, that I'd leave her standing in the home she built to impress strangers, with no one there to admire her anymore. 2 more days passed. Then came the call I expected. Her mother. It rang 7 times. I didn't pick up. Then voicemail. "Daryl, I don't know what happened. She's not well. She says you left because of some misunderstanding, but I think there's more. Please, if you can talk to her, do." A misunderstanding. Sure. I misunderstood why my marriage felt like a hotel lobby, busy, sterile, and full of people just passing through. I took a long walk after hearing that voicemail. Along the water, past the boats tied to the docks. I watched a couple eat takeout on a bench and laugh like they hadn't forgotten each other yet. I wondered if they would. If one day one of them would become like me, sitting alone, unsure when the laughs turned into sighs. But I didn't feel bitter. I felt aware. Like someone who finally walked out of a too long movie that didn't live up to its trailer. And just when I thought the dust might settle, an email popped up in my inbox. Subject: Formal Notice. Internal Investigation Findings. Ms. Tessa Halbridge. I opened it slowly. Inside was a short message. Polite. Cold. Corporate. Mr. Darnell. Following your anonymous tip and subsequent investigation, we've concluded that Ms. Halbridge violated our code of conduct regarding the use of company funds for personal purposes. Effective immediately, she has been placed on leave pending review. Thank you for bringing this to our attention. No dramatic fallout. No tabloid chaos. Just accountability on letterhead. I didn't smile. But for the first time in a long time, I exhaled without pain. The truth didn't destroy her. It revealed her. And now, all that was left was for her to finally stand still in the silence she spent years running from. It started with a video. A staged one, of course. I wasn't following her anymore. I had no interest in her socials, her polished captions, or the curated image of her healing journey. But people kept sending me things. My old coworker Melissa. A second cousin I barely talked to. Even my barber. All of them sent me the same link. A 6-minute Instagram reel with overly soft piano music and a caption that made my stomach churn. When your life falls apart, you get to see what was fake and what's worth fighting for. Tessa sat in our old living room, now barely furnished, dressed in muted beige like she was auditioning for sadness. Her mascara was smudged just enough. Her voice was brittle in the practiced way of someone trying to appear raw. The ring I left her? Now a symbolic prop she clutched between her fingers like a tragic artifact. She said things like, I made choices I regret. And I lost a friend, a partner, a soul I took for granted. She never said my name. Not once. Just vague references to a man who deserved more. She ended it with, this isn't about blame. It's about growth. I'm not looking for sympathy, just a new beginning. But that was the problem. She was looking. For attention. For control. For a rewritten narrative where she got to be the one who healed from the pain she created. And it worked. The comments were flooded with hearts and fire emojis and fake empathy. You're so strong. This made me cry, girl. We all make mistakes. Sending love. They never appreciate the good ones until it's too late. The good one. That's who she was now? A week ago, she weaponized silence. Now, she weaponized vulnerability. I closed the video and stared at the black screen for a while. My reflection stared back at me, tired, scruffy, and still trying to make peace with the fact that I had loved someone who had been performing for years. I wasn't angry. Not in the way people expect. I didn't want revenge. I didn't want her job, her reputation, or her tears. I wanted her to feel it. Not in public. Not through staged sorrow. But in the quiet, when no one was watching. I wanted her to sit in that house and hear how loud absence could be. But the universe had other plans. 3 days after the video, I received a manila envelope in the mail. No return address. Inside were printed photos, physical, real, old-school photographs. The kind you don't send digitally. The kind you don't want saved in the cloud. There were 9 of them, all taken in different cities. Hotel lobbies. Outdoor brunches. Parking garages. Some looked recent, others maybe months old. In every one, it was her and him, the same man I saw through the window that first night. He had a forgettable face, but I couldn't forget it now. They were holding hands in one. Kissing in another. She was in her work blazer in one photo and what looked like pajamas in another. But it wasn't the images that gutted me. It was the last photo. She was sitting on a bench, alone, looking at her phone, smiling. It was timestamped 2 days after I left. A moment of quiet, pure happiness while my world was still smoldering. That smile said more than any video or apology ever could. And the note that came with the photos? Just in case you ever start missing her again. No signature. No explanation. Someone out there wanted me to stay gone. And I would have, except the next morning, I got another envelope. This time from a lawyer. Inside, divorce papers. Drafted. Unfiled. With a post-it note stuck to the top that read, if this is what you want, I won't stop you. But please, meet me first. One last time. No cameras. No audience. Just us. Signed, Tessa. For the first time since I disappeared, I paused. Not because I was tempted. Not because I wanted closure. But because I had questions that silence couldn't answer. Why now? Why send the papers if she still wanted to talk? And most of all, why did someone else send me those photos? I agreed to meet her. Not because I wanted reconciliation. Not because I believed she had anything left to say that hadn't already rotted between us. I did it because the envelope, The one with the photos still gnawed at me. The handwriting on the note was tight, slanted, male. The tone wasn't angry. It was careful, almost clinical. It wasn't the kind of thing someone sends to be petty. It was a warning, and it made me think that whatever I thought I knew about her betrayal, I didn't know the half of it. We met at a coffee shop on the edge of town. Neutral ground. She picked it. The place was one of those glassbox cafes that tries too hard. Walls covered in hanging plants, books you're not supposed to read, baristas who speak in a whisper like they're always mourning something. She was already there when I walked in, seated at the corner table, nursing a mug she didn't drink from. Her phone was flipped face down, but not far enough to show disinterest. She wore beige again. Her new color of guilt, I guess. I didn't sit right away. I just stood there, watching her watch me, like two strangers trying to remember if they've met before in another life. When I finally slid into the seat across from her, she gave a faint smile, fragile, but rehearsed. Like everything else she did lately. "Hi," she said softly, like we were starting from scratch. I didn't answer. She glanced around the cafe, like she was making sure no one was filming. "I know you hate me," she started. "And you have every right to." I leaned back, arms crossed, my voice low. "I don't hate you, Tessa. That would imply I still feel something." Her mouth tensed, but she nodded. "Fair," she whispered. "I didn't ask you here to beg. I wanted to explain." "You already did. In 6 minutes. With perfect lighting and piano music." Her eyes flinched. That hit her. "I didn't post that for you." "No. You posted it for them." She looked down at her hands, fingers clutched tight around the mug. "There's more going on than you realize." I waited. Let the silence choke the space between us. She took a shaky breath. "The man you saw, the one in the photos, it wasn't just an affair. It was blackmail." That word hit the table like a dropped knife. She looked up quickly. "I know how it sounds. But I didn't sleep with him because I wanted to. Not in the beginning." "In the beginning?" I echoed, my voice tight with disbelief. "You're saying you were forced? Is that the story now?" "No," she said quickly. "I wasn't forced. Not physically. It was manipulation. He was someone I worked with. He had access to internal emails. He found things, conversations I'd had about work, strategy, budgets I'd inflated. He threatened to expose me. And then it turned into this thing. This toxic arrangement. I kept going along with it because I was scared. Because I thought if I lost my job, I'd lose everything." I didn't speak. My fingers were balled into fists under the table. "Eventually it stopped being about leverage," she admitted. "I don't even know when the line blurred. I stopped saying no." I shook my head. "And somewhere in the middle of all that, you looked at me every night and pretended nothing was happening." "I know." Her voice cracked. "And I hated myself for it." "You hated yourself quietly. I hated myself out loud." She looked like she wanted to cry, but I wasn't sure if it was for me, or just for the mess she couldn't control anymore. Then she leaned in. "Did you send the photos to yourself?" That stunned me. "What?" Her expression darkened. "I didn't send them. I never printed those. And if he had them, he wouldn't mail them to you. So who did?" The world tilted a little in that moment. We weren't two people sorting through a failed marriage anymore. We were part of something messier. Something with shadows neither of us had named yet. I reached into my jacket and slid the envelope across the table. Same photos. No return address. Just this note. She read it and sat very still. Then, under her breath, she muttered a name I didn't recognize. "Who's that?" I asked. Her eyes snapped up to mine. "He's not just some guy. He used to work for my company, corporate security. He got let go quietly, right after our team flagged a leak. He's unstable. He was watching me." "You mean?" I think he's been following both of us." And suddenly, all the dots I thought I had connected felt wrong. Not because she wasn't guilty. She was. But because someone else had been documenting her downfall from a distance, waiting for the perfect moment to insert themselves into the narrative. She slid the divorce papers back toward me. "You should still sign these. I'm not asking for a second chance. I just don't want this to get worse." And yet I could see the panic in her eyes. The realization that the world she built out of appearances and secrets was starting to collapse inward. And neither of us had the full map of how deep it went. "I'll think about it," I said, standing. "Daryl," she called after me, her voice cracking. I paused. "There's more. He's not done." I didn't turn back. "I'm not either," I said. "But I don't play games anymore." Then I left. And for the first time since she betrayed me, I wasn't walking away from her. I was walking towards something. It came 2 days after the cafe meeting. A small cardboard box, no label, no return address, no markings of any kind. Just my name, scribbled in thick black ink, barely legible. I found it sitting at the front door of my apartment, dropped sometime while I was gone picking up groceries. I stood there for nearly a minute, staring at it, part of me not wanting to touch it at all. There was something about its silence, the way it sat there like a question I hadn't earned the answer to yet. I brought it inside slowly, setting it down on the kitchen table like it might explode. I half expected a recording device or more photographs. But what I found inside made every nerve in my body go still. Tapes. 4 of them. Yes, tapes. Cassette tapes. Actual analog cassettes like something from the 1980s, each labeled in the same sharp handwriting. D1, D2, T1, T2. There was also a small, cheap cassette recorder packed in with them, already loaded with batteries. My breath caught in my throat as I stared at it. The whole thing was surreal. Who even uses these anymore? I played the first tape that night. Alone. In the dark. Just me and the buzz of the cheap speaker. A man's voice filled the room. Calm, deliberate, unshaken. I didn't recognize it, but the things he said, those I recognized all too well. The first minute was nothing. Just soft static and background noise. Then came the words. You think you're the only one who noticed, Daryl. But I saw it before you did. I watched her unravel. I documented it. I froze. The voice continued. I'm not trying to scare you. But you deserve the truth, even if she doesn't. She's not just unfaithful. She's careless. She lied to you in ways you haven't even uncovered yet. You only scratched the surface. Let me show you the rest. He wasn't ranting. He wasn't threatening. He sounded factual, like he was reading a report out loud. Tessa wasn't just cheating on you. She was laundering money through her corporate card. I followed the transactions. I have recordings. I'll prove it. But you need to listen to all of it. Don't stop, even when it hurts. I turned off the tape. My chest was tight. I sat there, eyes fixed on the cassette player, not sure if I'd just crossed a line into madness or finally cracked into the core of something far bigger than betrayal. A part of me wanted to toss the whole box in the trash and burn it. Another part, a louder part, needed to know everything. The second tape was worse. It was Tessa. Her voice. Not recorded secretly, but willingly. Phone calls. Voicemails. Conversations stitched together. But the one that gutted me, the one that changed everything, was her laughing. Daryl is like, harmless. Sweet, dumb, loyal. If he ever found out, he'd probably blame himself. Then silence. And then her voice again, more serious, almost fearful. You're not recording this, are you? A male voice, different than the one narrating, answered. Relax. No one's gonna hear it but me. But here I was, hearing it. All of it. Years later. Alone. The third tape? A meeting. I recognized the location. It was the rooftop bar we used to go to on anniversaries. She was there, but not with me. The recorder caught a conversation between her and the same man from the hotel, the affair partner. They were plotting something. I didn't understand all of it. Names, dates, coded phrases. But one thing was clear. They had talked about leaving me long before I found out. Not just leaving. Using me. My name. My credit. My stability. And the fourth tape. The fourth tape was silent. 7 minutes of blank, empty hum. But right at the end, barely audible. You think silence is safe. That's where you're wrong. And then it clicked off. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat up replaying every moment from the past 2 years, wondering how many of them had been orchestrated by someone behind the curtain. Who was the man who sent the tapes? Was he protecting me? Or was he just watching it all fall apart for his own satisfaction? I called Tessa. First time since the coffee shop. She answered immediately, like she'd been waiting. I got something, I said. A box. With tapes. Silence. Then, you listened to them? Enough to know there's more to this than just lies and cheating. She sounded shaken. Not surprised, shaken. I told you he wasn't done. Who is he? I demanded. I don't know his real name, she said. He was just a quiet guy in the office. Always watching. I thought he was harmless. But then, things started showing up. Emails I never wrote. Conversations I don't remember having. You said you weren't forced. I wasn't. But maybe I was manipulated more than I realized. I didn't respond. Then she whispered, he's coming for you now. And just like that, the call ended. No goodbye. No plea. Just that warning, hanging in the air like smoke after a match has been struck. That was when I realized this wasn't about a marriage anymore. This was something else. Something deeper. Something that didn't care about who was innocent, only who was visible. And somehow, I had stepped into the light. I didn't leave my apartment the next day. Not for work, not for food, not for anything. The tapes had done something irreversible to my mind. They didn't just reveal betrayal, they rearranged it. Like someone took all the moments I had categorized neatly under cheating, neglect, and grief, and scattered them into a new shape. One I couldn't name yet. I couldn't stop thinking about that voice. Calm, authoritative, observant. He wasn't guessing. He knew. He knew about her job, about the hotel dates, about me. Too much. It wasn't just surveillance, it was curation. Like he'd been collecting pieces of our lives in a box, waiting for the perfect moment to mail them like a gift wrapped in madness. I needed answers. That night, I pulled out an old laptop and began digging, not into Tessa, but into the company she worked for. I remembered a name she had once mentioned in passing. Randall Stokes. He was some kind of compliance officer or cybersecurity guy. Quiet, she'd said. The kind who makes eye contact a second too long. I searched forums, tech job boards, Reddit threads, even old LinkedIn scraps. And then I found him. Not under his name, but under a username that had commented on obscure InfoSec boards for years. The writing matched. So did the phrasing. More digging revealed that he'd been fired 18 months ago for what the company called internal ethics violations. The details were buried. But one former employee posted anonymously, saying Stokes had crossed lines with access privileges and had been tracking personnel behavior well beyond policy. He hadn't just watched Tessa. He'd watched many of them. And apparently, I was the one he picked to show everything to. But why? I scrolled further. Found another post, buried in an unrelated thread, titled, "When they picked the weakest link, he didn't break. He vanished." There was a link attached. I hesitated. Then I clicked. It opened a single-page blog post. No images. Just a wall of text. It was about me. It mentioned where I worked, the school, my daily habits, my car, even the time I left for work most mornings. The post painted me as the ideal subject for emotional collapse, noting I was reliably invisible and loyal to the point of delusion. It ended with a line that made my spine go cold. He won't see the real betrayal coming, but it won't be from her. I read that again. And again. It won't be from her. My hands were shaking. Who else? Who else could he mean? That's when I remembered something I had ignored. Something that didn't sit right even before the affair broke wide open. My brother, Nathan, the only family member Tessa ever truly got along with. He was charming, a little reckless, a bar manager with too many stories and too few consequences. He used to drop by our place unannounced. Tessa always smiled wider when he was around. Said he reminded her to loosen up. After I left her, he was the only one who never called, never asked where I went, never even texted. I assumed he was giving me space. But what if it wasn't that? What if he knew? I tried calling him. No answer. So I drove. 2 hours. No music. Just the engine and the rising storm in my chest. I pulled into the bar parking lot where he worked. Walked straight in, past the hostess, past the regulars drinking on a slow weeknight. There he was, behind the counter, laughing with a waitress as if the world wasn't breaking in layers around him. "Nate," I said, louder than I intended. He turned. His smile fell immediately. "Daryl," he said, drying his hands. "Man, you look like hell." I walked up to the bar. Close. Too close. "Did you sleep with her?" The entire place quieted. Every head turned. He didn't flinch. Didn't blink. Just looked down, then back up at me. "Daryl, not here. Answer me." He exhaled. I didn't mean for it to happen. Those words landed like a wrecking ball. He said it softly. No denial. No shame. Just resignation. "It was once," he continued. "A long time ago. You were out of town. She came to the bar. We drank. It got messy. But it never happened again." I laughed, loud and hollow. "And you never thought to tell me?" "I figured if she didn't, then maybe it was better left buried. You were my brother. And she was already slipping away from you. Don't act like you didn't know." I stepped back like I'd been slapped. And then I remembered the last line from the blog post. It won't be from her. It was from him. The one person I never questioned. The one person who knew all my blind spots because I'd let him. I walked out before I did something I couldn't take back. The air outside was sharp. My lungs felt like they were on fire. I had no home, no wife, no brother, No version of the truth I could trust anymore. I sat in my car, the door still open, and stared at the sky like it might collapse next. Then my phone buzzed. A text. Unknown number. One more package is coming. This one ends it. The final package arrived on a Thursday morning. This time, it wasn't left at my door. It was delivered in person, by a courier who didn't ask for a signature, didn't even look me in the eye. He just handed me a thick envelope, nodded once, and walked off like he didn't want to be part of whatever came next. I stood in the hallway of my apartment building, holding it like it might burn through my skin. There was no return address again, just a small symbol in the corner of the envelope, an hourglass. I opened it slowly. No tapes this time. No threats. Just a single sheet of paper with a simple message, typed in the same mechanical style. This is the last truth. After this, you're free to choose silence or peace. Attached to the paper was a flash drive. I didn't plug it in immediately. I sat for hours on the edge of my bed, that little device sitting on my palm, heavy with the weight of every question I thought I wanted answered. I wasn't even sure anymore what I hoped to find. Closure? Justice? Revenge? All of it felt smaller now. The kind of thing that people chase when they still believe in fixing the past. Eventually, I slid it into the port. A video file. Just one. No title. No timestamp. I hit play. It was security footage. Grainy. A timestamp appeared, March 16th. The date of the hotel conference. The date Tessa told me she was deep in breakout sessions. The video showed her exiting the hotel, alone. Not holding hands. Not looking over her shoulder. Alone. She walked to her car. Got in. Sat there for a while. Then, unexpectedly, she broke down. Not dramatic sobbing. Not for show. Just collapse. Her hands on her face. Shoulders trembling. Then a cut. Another video, from the rooftop bar. This time, the audio was clearer. She was talking to someone, but not the affair partner. It was Stokes. The same voice from the tapes. They were arguing. He was pressing her, coaxing things out of her. She looked uncomfortable, defensive, then scared. Suddenly, it all shifted. He had manufactured some of it. Not the cheating, that was real. But he'd manipulated the narrative. Cherry-picked moments. Threatened her. Trapped her in a web she didn't even realize she was stuck in. The final part of the video? Stokes, alone, looking directly into the security camera, like he knew someone would watch it later. He smiled, then walked away. I sat there in silence for a long time. The urge to scream, to cry, to unravel again never came. Instead, something unexpected happened. I felt calm, because I finally understood. I wasn't chosen because I was weak. I was chosen because I endured. Because I watched it all fall and never crumbled under the wreckage. I didn't lash out. I didn't lose myself. I outlasted it. A week later, I filed the divorce papers. No drama. No announcement. Just a quiet walk into the courthouse, a signature, and a release I hadn't known I was holding inside for years. Tessa didn't fight it. She didn't even try to stop me. She texted only once. You deserved more than the version of me I gave you. I hope you find it. I didn't respond. Not because I was angry, but because she was right. I did deserve more. And I was finally ready to go find it. I moved out of state a month later. Somewhere smaller. Quieter. Coastal. I found a job managing property maintenance for a local inn. Nothing flashy. But every morning, I walk the grounds, feel the ocean breeze, and remember what being present feels like. There's a bookstore nearby. The woman who runs it is kind. Smart. Doesn't ask about my past. She just smiles when I bring her broken lamps from the shop and fix them without a word. The first time she thanked me, I shrugged and said, I'm just the maintenance guy. She laughed. You don't give yourself enough credit. Maybe I don't. But I'm learning. I may have been broken. I may have been betrayed. But I never lost myself. I just had to walk away from the noise to finally hear my own voice again. And it no longer trembles.